fuck this. Yeah, I'm not religious. Welcome to Drake Pod. Drake Pod is the time you can just kind of listen and not have to see what I'm doing. And it is a time of religious reflect, I guess, for Easter. We're on Easter Eve, everyone. Easter Eve. And we're going to start off by playing. This is a Super Mario Dice Dungeon. There's Toad. So I'm going through two levels, basically two rounds. You can play this game horizontally or vertically. You have to go up these weird stairs of units to get to Bowser. There is Giuseppe, the Charles Martinet Mario, and there's Mario. Luigi died at the beginning of the table, so because I have a finite number of units, you're rolling a 10-sided die with zero through 9, and a one of the dice from Magic the Gathering. Wizards of the Coast. So, creating your own board games is fun, isn't it? So let me do a round here. It is the hero's turn. It is the Mario's turn. They got a 2 and a shield. So I'll explain to you what that looks like. We have to take exactly 2 units from the farthest end of the table and then reuse them, reshuffle them. So since Giuseppe kind of needs to join Mario, there's different ways. You can get these power-up blocks that require 3 turns to get to the secret. So you can put together a picture. How do I explain? So like some of the ones, there's like a total of 6 question blocks. And some of these, you can use a story, a comic book story, to settle a battle with enemies. You can use a dice sling, which wipes out all enemies, or you get a piece of a picture, and on that picture, you can make a mosaic. And that's just more for fun, for laughs, to find hidden things, because you like to find hidden things in Mario games. So I had moved the 2 unit. I haven't moved it yet, have I? No, I have not. So we will move these 2 units here, and that way Mario can move. Now, because it's a shield, the characters do not move. If it's a swords, the characters move to the farthest point they can get to get to the top. If it's a blank, right? If there's a blank side, then one of the characters dies. So you want to make sure you have all your characters. So it's much like the Dice Dungeon. Oh, actually, I did move the 2 units. Sorry. Okay, I already moved the 2 units. I got to pay attention to that. Continuity is important. You don't want to break your own rules. This was inspired by Yu-Gi-Oh! Dice Dungeon Master, except you don't use 25 dice for this, and that was not a very long-lived game. So while I'm playing this game, I'll talk to you about my not religious ways, okay? When I was a kid, I had no concept of God or Jesus or Mary. I knew these things existed in 2,000-year culture, right? Before Christ, after death. I knew that I had my brothers around, or my older brother. I had my sisters. I had my family members. It was at a time where we were at our strongest, meaning nothing could touch us. We had our grandparents, or my great-grandmother, my grandmother. Everybody was still alive. Nobody had really died yet. My great-grandmother had died by the time I was 7 years old. That was 38 years ago. And at that time, I thought, maybe it's because I watched Battlestar Galactica. I thought of Lorne Greene in Cloak. Or I thought maybe God was Lorne Greene from Bonanza. It's like maybe God is this white-haired dude with no beard, right? But he would just watch everybody. And so you had to behave yourself and be a certain way. And I think that was my perspective. Kind of like, what is it? What's that one in Star Trek? Remember the one with the Archons? The guy that kind of looks like Christopher Walken. Landru, right? Landru was the god that everybody would be perfect. That was my concept of God at 5, 6, 7 years old. I just, you could not, I would die on that hill for that argument, right? And so, oh, by the way, that's Petey the Piranha, and he has a special die, 20-sided die. That's a black one, so he can move. So the enemies that we spawn go up and down this way. So there's new enemies that come. Enemies come this way. Mario, Luigi, and Giuseppe go this way. They come up this. So it's like a 3-player game. Anyway, um, we got ice cream trucks coming about. So, and when my brother died, and he died of AIDS, he had pneumonia. So, before that, I was, had a concept of God and Jesus or whatever. But when my brother died, my mom cried. I think my mom, I'm not sure if my mom was in the driver's seat or the passenger seat. I can't remember. It was so long ago. That was 32 years ago. No, 36. Getting the years mixed up. And she said, if God was good, why did he kill my son? Why did he have my son die? And that stuck with me, and it has still stuck with me to this day, you know? And maybe you all religious, and by the way, you can be religious all you want. Um, the only time I would not tell people you know, it it's wrong to tell people what to believe or not to believe in. But I think that goes for Jehovah's Witnesses too, and in trying to impress children that don't need to be religious, right? Whatever. That's my perspective. But having said that, I never see anybody topple the argument that good character, good fate, bad character, bad fate. And I said this before when I was walking the bike trail years ago, when I talked about true forced loneliness or MGTOW. Good things happen to good people, bad things happen to bad people. Good things happen to bad people, and bad things happen to good people. Look at George Soros. Look at people like my brother. I mean, there are some people in power who get to do shitty things, and good things happen to them. And there are good people who die so young. Children. So many children die of cancer. So many children die of illnesses. What happened in Uvalde? What happened in Sandy Hook? 9/11. There were good people. So the God and religion. And yet my parents, because I kept going from school to school because I didn't fit in with society. I didn't fit in with my nursery school group. I didn't fit in with elementary schools. I kept transferring from school to school. Eventually my parents put me in a Christian school and ultimately a Salesian Catholic school. And let me tell you, I did not fit in with any of it. Sorry, leftovers. I didn't fit in with any of it. None of it. Because what was the fucking point? Right? But I had, the thing was that you may say, well, it's good that your parents put you in private school. But then it's like, but if your parents aren't religious, why put your kids in a religious school? Right? They would say, oh, so they don't get pregnant, so they don't run off. They may run off anyway. And let me tell you, I'm only an expert in how not to raise your children. When you put the air of distrust in your kids and you don't communicate with them, you don't talk with them, you don't spend time with them, you just think they're just responsibility things, your kids are going to run off with some adult man and they may be missing and you may never see them again. That's just how it is. That's how it is. You have to communicate with your kids. How you do that, only a parent would know best. But to just put the air of distrust and put him in Catholic school, say, oh yeah, the nun's going to get that ruler and crack the whip. It doesn't fucking work. It really doesn't. I don't give a shit. It doesn't work. So I went through Catholic school, Christian school. God never convinced me of shit. I would watch these religious movies in school to get good grades, a plus or a minus in Christian school, A through F grades in Catholic school. I just was never fucking convinced. And when I studied about Christopher Columbus and Hernan Cortez, and the fall of Cuauhtémoc, the fall of the Aztec Empire, how the Aztec gods of duality would fall over to Christianity, how Christianity ended the Roman Empire, all of this stuff, I'm fascinated by history when it's relevant to me and how human behavior is. I was just watching Vlad the Impaler and satire and cartoon satire in Renaissance times, medieval times, because Renfield with Nicolas Cage is coming up, and it's amazing what human beings can do to one another, or do whether it's on a piece of paper like the Canterbury Tales, or what Vlad the Impaler did with killing and slaughtering people. I mean, he made Alexander the Great look like Pollyanna. I mean, Alexander the Great showed sympathy toward the Sultan, but uh, Vlad the Impaler didn't give a shit. He didn't care. He was just going to slaughter people, and he did it to revolt. It was just no matter what Jesus there was, no matter what cross there was just so much like inhumanity that people would do to one another. Then where was Jesus? There were good people that got killed by Vlad. Where was Jesus? Where was Jesus now with COVID-19? Where was Jesus? Where were Mary and Jesus? There were good people that I knew. The guy that ran the pizza store that I no longer go to, the pizza parlor, the Gina's Pizzeria, I don't go there anymore because now the hands have changed. But the owner, who was a good man, he died from COVID. Where was Jesus? Why is Jesus before? Why, when Jesus said to God, "Why have you forsaken me? Why hast thou forsaken me?" It's like, yeah, well, Jesus should know the answer, right? I always thought Jesus and God and Mary and the saints like Saint Gabriel or Peter would have all the answers. They would have, if you were a saint, you had like maybe 80% of the answers. So all this talk about, you can use the Bible as a way to say this is how, as cautionary tales, but just to literally think somebody is watching us and watching our behavior, heaven and hell. I believe more in reincarnation, though you can't prove reincarnation. Nobody can. I just don't like this idea that this is the system in place. And when you have missionaries punishing Native Americans, Cherokee, Apache, for having their beliefs, when they flog them or do worse in the founding of America, that's disgusting. Like, what? Why would Jesus think that that's okay? And if Jesus thinks he can go fuck himself and go, if I get to heaven or hell and God's Jesus there, I want an explanation for this shit. I want an explanation for all of this. That's my feeling and thought. Shall we go with the enemy's move here? Let's take a little break here and take the enemy's move. Here's the dish. I'm now going to roll the dice. Oh, okay. So that's a 3 and that's a blank. That means that PD, the piranha, is dead, and Bowser takes a dirt nap and loses a turn. But meanwhile, three pieces are allowed to move. So, you can take the 3 pieces like here, and then add them here, if you want to. So, there you're adding 3 units, but that means poor Giuseppe can't get to whoever. Now, there's different ways you can do this. You can go to the other question blocks and get the secrets, or you might as well just go all the way up, defeat Bowser, rescue the Toad. That's a little Toad, by the way. That's who that is. And keep in mind that this vertical stairway isn't created until you create it. So when you create it, your enemies can come down this kind of stairway and come at the enemies horizontally. So that's how that works. So my concept, I looked at different things. I looked at ancient gods from Japan, ancient gods of Greek, of Rome, different things. Look at all this noise. Make so much noise. After my sister died of suicide, after I lost my father, after my cousin died, my grandfamily died. I only knew my grandmother and maybe my great grandmother. So to me, Easter doesn't have much meaning for me or hope. I could watch the 10 Commandments. I could watch Ben-Hur, but it doesn't fucking matter. I mean, Moses had a better concept of Moses was trying to get that humanity and say, don't covet thy neighbor's wife, do not steal, do not kill, right? And whether or not that was God, people were doing psychedelics way back then. So the idea that we have it all figured out, we don't. People want quick solutions. People want to have all the answers. Why are there microbes from Mars? Why are there microorganisms that lived on Mars? And when that was discovered, everybody was up in arms, like, how dare they? It's like, well, science is always changing. The religions stay the same, and people have killed each other over religions. Wasn't that after the bubonic plague and all that stuff? I mean, people have killed each other for less. And it's amazing how people behave. But between war on religions, what goes on with Israel, Palestine, what goes on, war of politics, which goes on in this country. I'm tired, and I just, like, I can understand when people are Christian or Catholic because they want to be. Some of them do it. If you're religious because you don't want to go to hell, go fuck yourself. You don't need to be religious. Those are the people I can't respect. Don't be religious because you're afraid to go to hell. Do it because you want to help people. But you don't even need to be religious to help people. You don't need to be a Christian or a Catholic or a Lutheran or a Protestant, Gentile. You don't need to be anything in particular to help people. If you want to help people, you fucking help people. That's it. You do what you got to do. You do what you got to do. That's it. That's all there is. And no religion can just justify it or not. You help people. It's easy to make prayers and to bless and stuff. It's harder to go and help the people that need the help the most. You give your money, you give your time, you give a little bit of food. That's what you do because you are who you are. But I don't want anyone to ever be religious because they're afraid to be punished by the devil. It's like, you know what? You have to do the things you want to do. You have to. I think most people go to church because they're afraid to go to hell. But it's like, some people just die. And they were good people. They weren't molesters. They weren't offenders. They never had an evil thought in their head. Maybe they bereft themselves of original sin. They said 20 Hail Marys. And they still died of COVID-19. Now, what does that tell you when you're sitting in that pew and, Senor Resendez or Mr. Jones is dead, and the disease can get anybody, right? The disease does not just get sinners. Sorry, it happens to a lot of people. And that's just how I feel about it. I mean, it's hard to talk about religion, but since we're coming upon Easter, I figured why not. So, I'll continue to play this game. This game is hard, by the way. What do? Do you get the secret pieces? Do you get the dice sling and the dice sling wipes out the enemy? I mean, there's so many choices you can make in this game, by the way. But whatever you choose to do, just remember that we all have to put up with one another, and we strive to be better people. Scientology, what is it? Allah, Hinduism. I mean, there's just so many different things. I just go by feeling and instinct. I hear these reincarnation stories. A black woman died in a fire and reincarnated as a white boy. That's why I'm seeing a video about that. Or how an actor was stabbed to death and then was reincarnated into a child like decades later. I always find those stories to be fascinating stories. But if you believe it, if you can believe reincarnation, it's always fascinating stuff. It's always amazing stuff. But if you see any stories of reincarnation or if you have your perspectives of religion, let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, if this was good enough for you, you see those icons below, you know what to do. Happy Easter, everyone.